Hello, Francis.
Okay, cool.
Franz. Hello. Hi. Hey. Oh, hi. Oh, you're here. Hi, guys. How are you doing? Welcome to Speck&Tech number
26.
26.
26.
Oh, very well, very well.
Oh, and actually, oh, okay, it's too far. Okay, I believe I can speak and fly. Not fun.
This was Franz's idea, so...
No, it wasn't fun, my idea. It was Michele's idea. Michele, we blame it on you. Okay, an applause for everyone for being here. Coming to an airport, say, this is the team behind Speck&Tech. Whoa, this doesn't work, I don't know why.
Perché non c'è, anyway, un sacco di danni, incredibile. Tutto il team. Tocca imparare tutto.
Can you hear me? No. Oh. No. Ciao. Now it goes. It works. Yeah, okay. Cool. So this is the team behind Speck&Tech. Today there were very few people because of summer in between and the schools and flies, whatever. I'm gonna use this back again. Oh. Yeah. So this is the team behind Speck&Tech. This is the team behind Speck&Tech. Probably I'm too far, I don't know why. But I'm a bit long. Yeah. This is the team behind Speck&Tech. We are around 10 people working all the time to make these things happen.
Like half of those people are microphone experts, as you can understand from what happened. Yeah.
And some of them are not here tonight. We miss them. That's why these logistic troubles. Some are here and are working like this to make Speck&Tech live every single time. I don't know why. Anyway. First speaker. Anyway. I can promise the other second.
Francesco has a big electrical field around him.
We need a Michele in our life. Michele.
Non si può.
No. We need some testing.
Riesci a montarci un altro microfono al volo di quelli col cavo? Per favore?
Di quelli col cavo.
Quelli col cavo.
Okay, logistic troubles happen. First time in an airport, I don't know about you. Anyway, we can start slowly, and this is the first speaker of the night, PIETRO GORGAZZINI, sitting down here. Applause for you. Yeah. The topic of the night is actually drones, so he will tell you about his drone company. And the second speakers is not actually one person, but it's three of them. And those guys there. You can recognize the guy with the blue hair.
Yeah, he has a placeholder on his head, so you can find him.
Matthias Moritz Moroder, like George Moroder. Proud of your surname. And an applause for them as well.
Welcome.
Cool. Before moving slowly to our two talks, we're going to have a big thank you to our supporters. First one, the reason why we are here in a freaking airport is because of Festivalare, which is the aviation flight festival of Trentino, which is happening actually over this weekend, tonight, and the whole day today started, and tomorrow and till Sunday, if you want to pass by, it's really cool. Last year there were around 10,000 people, correct? And yeah, okay, cool. So this weekend is gonna be, you will see everyone flying around, you will see helicopters, you will see drones, you will see airplanes. You can also try and pilot yours if you are excited. I did it was pretty cool, I tell you, a few years ago. Anyway, I invite Luca on stage to say a few words.
Hello!
Yeah, he's the one behind the ITALFLY Academy, who are the one giving us this amazing hangar. So a few words for him and applause.
A big applause, thank you very much.
Volevo solamente fare un intervento in italiano, perché già farò fatica in italiano, non potete immaginare in inglese, tanto non si perdono niente perché parlano solo inglese. Volevo solo darvi il benvenuto in questa location forse un po' particolare per la maggior parte di voi. ITALFLY è un'azienda che lavora nel settore aeronautico da 35 anni, abbiamo diverse certificazioni, dalla scuola di volo per piloti di elicottero, trasporto persone, ditta di manutenzione. Dal 2016 siamo entrati anche nel mondo dei droni come centro di formazione per piloti e altri lavori che andiamo a fare. Niente, è per noi un settore molto interessante perché ha portato finalmente un po' di innovazione nel settore aeronautico che normalmente ha molta inerzia nel riuscire ad avere nuove possibilità, soprattutto tecnologiche. Quindi è un settore che ci ha veramente appassionato e che ha preso trasversalmente molti settori, ci ha fatto fare conoscenze incredibili sul territorio anche fuori. Questa è una serata che lo dimostra e quindi siamo curiosi di sapere cosa verrà raccontato da Pietro, dai fratelli Moroder che già conosciamo, e vi auguro a tutti una buona serata. Grazie mille.
So since we're talking about ITALFLY,
Wait a second. Well, how many non-Italian speakers here?
it's enough.
Okay, yeah, people. He was basically bragging about how cool they are, and if you're interested in drones or you wanna try pilot your own drone or test your stuff or get a certificate for flying, this is the place you should come. Correct? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. No, I was saying, since we're talking about ITALFLY, a couple of rules of the house, since we're guests here. So it's forbidden to go outside the building, è vietato uscire dall'edificio, nicht outside 9. And moreover, don't touch, please don't touch helicopters, they're not toys. People fly on those, so do not touch stuff you feel you shouldn't touch. Also other people, if they are not consent, you know, that kind of stuff. Yes, no, I do like Francesco. But talking about all the airplanes and helicopters and stuff, just please don't do stupid stuff. We are guests tonight. Non toccate gli elicotteri, vi tagliamo le mani, promesso.
Thank you. If you're interested, there's also a toilet over there. Cool. Thanks, MATTHIAS again.
Which you can touch.
Yeah, you can touch it. Okay, generally most of the time we host our events at Impact Hub Trentino. This is the place where some of you met to come here by car, thanks to our blah speak car. And yeah, if you're interested in some working space in Trento, you can get 10% off if you go via us saying we are from Speck&Tech, and they can grant you a place where you can start your startup or work at your project, correct?
Or have some fishes at the moment also.
Yeah. And then we have these are the 4 sponsors, which is Yeti Digital, my organization, my former organization, I would say. Giulio.
Yeah, I'm here as CEO of Becca. We do mostly design, interface design, and app and website development.
Then we have Fattori Cloud, which is actually granting us the software for doing your invoices. So since we are a non-profit organization and we live on your donation, if you go there and you donate 1 cent, we will give you a fantastic email saying thanks from the community of Speck&Tech, and we pay taxes on that. So
how cool is that, huh?
Yeah, being old regular. And then we have Originate, who are providing us with these fantastic stickers. Stop holding them, that's right. Oh, wow. Okay, I added it, sorry. So we had 4 editions of stickers, and if you go there, you can find more or less all of them. The first one are very rare at the moment, but you can definitely...
Yeah, they are now on eBay for $100 right now.
Yeah. But you can definitely find the 3rd and the 4th edition.
Definitely not mine.
And this is Giulio wearing the tees, so some people of us are wearing these beautiful tees. You can get them there as well for a donation at the table where Michele sits. We made them for super fair trade cotton stuff, so it's pretty cool and also helpful with the environment. And there's a robot with a heart on it, so you should definitely have it. Please. And then we have Segata, which is our spec provider. For the people that don't know what spec is, means like a smoked ham, very typical from here. Tonight, Segata wasn't the provider because all the spec is locked in those white cages over there. So at the end of the event, we will go there, we will open all the boxes and take out the spec magically. At the moment, it's just they are freezing. So
yeah, don't go nearby because there is Michele as surveillance, which is super defensive with spec.
Yeah.
See, bad guy, strong bad guy.
Yeah, and finally, our website, Speck&Tech, you can find all the issues, you can find the events, you can find our sponsors, if you want to submit a talk or give a talk next time, we are always looking for speakers and also for stickers and for speakers.
Well, yeah.
And you can also go there and see all the previous issues, the events with the talks, the slides, the presenters, connect them on LinkedIn and stuff. And if you're looking for an internship or a job or whatever, you can go there, and we also have some open positions from the companies that presented earlier. Follow us on Facebook if you haven't done it, or join our Telegram channel. And if you're interested in collaborating more or talking about stuff, we also have a Slack channel, a Slack team, where you can join and discuss about random things happening, or coding problems, or new languages. And the final point, do you have to donate?
I mean, we are a non-profit association and we just survive with donations. Basically, Speck&Tech just repays the expenses, which are mostly beers and Speck. So if you keep donating, the event will keep going on. We're also live thanks to the sponsors, but I mean, if you feel that the event is cool and you like it, yes, please do donate. That is not mandatory.
And if you're interested in getting a license of JetBrains, you can still go there at the desk and ask it. We have monthly licenses that we get through JetBrains. So you just go there to Michele and say, I want a JetBrains license, and you will get it in a few hours. And this is why we ask you donations, because we pay the beers, we pay the Speck, and two more things. First one, tonight, if you have questions to the speakers, you just go on slide.do and you put code ST26.
It's a website.
It's a website.
It looks like, but it's a website.
It's a website. We will send you also over the Telegram channel, the Telegram channel, so you just go on this link, and at the end of the talk, when the speaker is really relieved that he finished presenting, you can just get ready for all the questions that you receive from all of you, and we will pick only the most upvoted. So it's really important that the questions are cool, because the speakers will be also very entertaining. We will send it to you on the Telegram channel, don't worry. Final point, few seats left for our Speck&Tech retreat. Organizing on the 12th to the 14th of October, we will go in the mountains in Val di Sole for a whole weekend from Friday 5 p.m. to Sunday 5 p.m. We'll do hiking, climbing, cliffhanger, paintball. We have a five sauna. We have a swimming pool, gourmet food, a bunch of stuff. We have.
You will never stop, guys.
Yeah.
Just leave. Complain, do something.
We have something like over 47 registrations at the moment, 48 something. So if you want to join the team, we will keep it open one more week, so it's your final chance to join the retreat. We will also promote it the next days. It's going to be like a weekend of basically doing nothing, chilling, relaxing, swimming, and I think we can go with the next event. Yeah, cool.
Alright,
cool.
So, who won the first guest competition? Alright,
PIETRO.
So, a warm welcome to PIETRO. Thank you very much for being here. For the first speaker. Wow. So, can you see who is to be a speaker? And thank you.
Hi everyone. So that's supposed to be working, right?
Yeah.
All right. I want to start my speech with a pretty bad event that happened recently in Italy. You probably might have heard of it. A bridge literally collapsed. That was in Genova. It was really, really bad for Italy. It was something that no one was expecting, probably, at least people. One of the first phones that rang was my phone. I was in Tenerife on a beach. And the reason why they called me is because we were ready. We had technology that at that moment no one else had in Italy, and we had people that were trained to do that type of operation. It wasn't easy because many political parties and influences and stuff, they didn't really want to let us fly, although we had all the rights and permits and stuff. But these situations are tricky. But we were able eventually to take off thanks to the Gilli del Fuoco organization that helped us getting everything through. And thanks to our data, in more or less 3 hours, we were able to provide engineers everything they needed to assess whether it was safe or not to keep working under the left parts of the bridge still standing. So something that wasn't done in 48 hours was done in 3 hours with one of our pilots on summer break. How we end up there, getting all that trust in such a tricky moment, it's a pretty short story actually, less than a year. Less than a year ago in Italy, another pretty bad situation was going on. Fires all over Italy, and it was really something that scared people. We didn't really have death last year, but still, hundreds of millions of public money were spent to help during this situation and the whole recovery. When something like that happens, being able to be there in time and control the situation is key. And no one really had the technology to do so. So you have sort of a double side problem. You need prevention on one side, and you need fast recovery and damage contention after. So during that time, I run an advertising company, which was actually my first startup. And I was really far from the drone and the aviation world at that time. But this situation really triggered something. And I decided to do something about it. So I put together a small team of friends that were working both in the aerospace industry and coders, software engineers. And we decided to create a plan to help Italy in these cases. We didn't really want to start a company. We just wanted to provide a helpful business plan for the public, for the government. So what's the easiest thing you do when you have a project and you want to share that with someone? You go to the Chamber of Deputies. That's what we did. I started replying LinkedIn messages of politicians talking about fires until someone noticed that and invited me over in Rome. In Rome, we actually were pretty harsh and explained the whole situation and how damages could be at least managed. After that speech, we were awarded at the Senate the Green Pride 2017, which is sort of an award to something that's both sustainable, techy, and helps the country. Everything happened more or less with a logo. The company wasn't even started yet, and that wasn't really our intention. But at that point, we decided to do it for real. So, even though I had my own company, with 2 offices in Italy, 1 in Madrid, so it's not Facebook, but it's a pretty interesting company. Alan, which is my partner, my founding partner, he's an engineer specialized in high efficiency algorithm, has his company running, and Giacomo, the third partner, he runs a drone company in Bergamo. He projects and builds high-tech drones. We started the whole thing together, and next up was funding. So basically, we had to give up a Porsche, my entire collection of watches, and some of these things. We didn't really want to knock to investors' doors or ventures or banks. We've been through that, and in our situation, we thought that it wasn't the right way. We needed to go very fast, be very bold, risk a lot, and that's something usually Italian investors don't really enjoy. The challenge in our industry was mainly that, and it's something very weird, because usually very advanced technology starts from the military with super expensive efforts, R&D efforts, then goes to enterprise level when prices go a bit lower, and then to consumer, which is the last step, when technology hits economy of scale and becomes really easy to distribute and buy, very accessible. For some reason, in the drone industry, it sort of skipped a step. So the military use, it goes back from the Second World War, ideally. Consumer, totally blasted off. You just need to attach a GoPro to a drone, and then you have a very fun way to take super cool videos like you were an entire TV or movie troupe without a helicopter. So the incredible blast of the consumer industry created a huge gap. right in between, the enterprise level. And that's because working on an enterprise level requires a whole bunch of skills. You need to have software skills, you need to know how to deal with data, complex data, you need to have operations running, you need to do everything compliant to the ANAC regulatory system, and so on. We came up with a method, with a system that was really, really simple and allowed enterprises, allowed companies to access drone technology without breaking a sweat. The model, we call it drone as a service, because basically we run the operations, we elaborate data, we buy the hardware, we ensure the hardware, we do everything. We developed an ownership software that's first of its kind to easily work with data from drones. So basically, whoever needs to work with that data has not more effort than playing a video game or whatever app. Again, national field operations, so certified pilots all over the country, exclusive. We bought the drones. Some of the drones we actually built ourselves for specific tasks, but most of the drones we've bought come from DJI. Those guys making $3 billion a year. There's no fucking way you can do best in Italy. Seriously. They won the hardware challenge, at least the large-scale hardware challenge. We have an elaboration team in Bergamo, which is counting right now 15 people. We are forecasting to become around 50 people by June. They get the data from drones, elaborate those data with some software engines, and some still needs to be done manually, and upload elaborated process data into a 3D environment that's really video game-like. So the end user, which is a technician, engineer, whatever, in any of the fields we're operating in, has really just to tap a few data to get an instant picture with incredible accuracy of whatever his field of operation is. That's our fleet, just for whoever's curious about it. M600, the M200, M210, which are two top-notch DJI drones. Just to give you an idea, the drones, these drones here with the sensors we need, so the full equipped average cost of the drone we fly, it's around 50,000–60,000 euros. We get well over 100 and a bit below. The P6, it's an ownership drone we entirely design and build in-house. Why we do that? Just because some of the tasks we are called on are super specific, and it wouldn't be interesting for a large-scale company like DJI, PIETRO, or whatever else to create something for a vertical use, right? Because they go very well on economy of scales, but struggle to work on very vertical tasks. These are three of the most common sensors we're equipping our drones with. One is missing, which is a laser scanner, and just because usually you do that from the ground. The aerial version is not, it's expensive and still not necessary. We can do the same thing with aerophotogrammetry. The RGB, so the visual bands are acquired by, it's a camera, it's basically a camera. The fun thing about it is what you do next. So how you turn RGB data into 3D models, which is aerophotogrammetry. The thermal camera, some of the one we were using starts around 12,000, 15,000 euros and up, are radiometric sensors that mix RGB and radiometric data to get very accurate information. And the last one was multispectral. Multispectral acquires data in the non-visible bands of light. That is used mostly in agriculture, precision farming, and anything that leaves a spectral form that's somehow readable. Most of the fields we are active in so far are large buildings or infrastructure, bridges, as we thought. With about 1 day of work of several flights, we're able to acquire a complex structure for a kilometer in length, which is pretty impressive, and create a 3D model that's made out of millions of points, which are coordinates in the real world. So it's not correct to say GPS data, but it's sort of like a bunch of GPS data. This means each click, each point I select, it's an actual measure, it's metrically correct, so I can measure with decimal precision angles, lengths, volumes, and a whole bunch of things that you wouldn't be able to do anyhow else other than climbing the thing, which is obviously not practical and probably not so safe. Dams, just to follow the evolution of cracks and other phenomena. Mining. Large quarries are one of the most important, it's where drones can do a very important job, because you are able to map whatever it's been dug with centimetric precision, and that's used both for controlling and managing production. Just to give you an idea, the largest topographic company in Italy manages about 25 quarries, large quarries. So not talking about the small ones, large quarries. From February, when we started, to date, we're close to 250. Sorry. Construction is another very interesting field of operations. When you do a large construction site, when you work on a large construction sites, you have so many errors that can't be done with regular traditional topography or measurements. We are able to provide daily, by allocating one of our pilots in the site that's going to be active for 2-3 years, whatever it's the length of a construction site, providing perfect data each day to control the progress and avoiding millions in loss. Other railways, roadways, and long assets lines are still a challenge because of bee loss. Right now, according to ENAC, you can fly a drone, pilot a drone in visual line of sight, right? To get the bee loss certificate, which is something these guys are doing with that big boy right there, it's something very, very tough to do, and so far we haven't done it, so we're just focusing on the visual line of sight range of operation, just to be quicker. Pipelines. A very useful use of thermal cameras is spotting holes in pipelines that are not through yet. That's because when you're damaging a piping from inside, because you have any acid or just pressure may cause those damages, the thickness of the pipe just shrinks a bit, right? And then you see a thermal distribution that's uneven, and that spots a hole before the hole is done. And with dangerous materials or gases, that can be a lifesaver. That's for energy-saving purposes, so you can see damages in electric lines and fix them, obviously. Solar panels, a very good way to spot hot spots, so whenever a cell is broken, it's with thermal analysis. But thermal analysis is pretty limited. When you go radiometric, so you get the absolute temperature of each single pixel, you can also see cells that are starting working not very well. So do whatever they call that predictive maintenance for windmills. Well, in windmills, most of the job is visual inspection. So the trick is climbing the pole in a very dangerous situation, just to inspect if there's anything wrong. By flying around it, it's quicker, safer, and operators only climb when it's something to get fixed. And you can maybe analyze 10 or 20 windmills in a day. As far as telecommunication, what's interesting is that antennas tilt when wind is very strong or storms are on. And this might be an issue. You can actually measure the perfect angle of state-of-the-art and fix that if that's needed. Last but not least, agriculture, precision farming. This is something that's not quite ready yet. If I'm measuring lengths, it's either that or that. When you're measuring multispectral data, there are so many different interpretations that it's not something that 1 + 1 it's always 2. It could be 3. So it's a range of operation that so far we're not that confident. We started working here in Trento with FEM. We want to start working with them to kind of get a better understanding of what can be precise about it. But so far we don't have the right precision. We have the tools, the sensors, the drones, but we don't have the interpretation skills to be sure about it. And there's not enough literature yet on that. To go very quick of what we've done from February to today. We were presented as national partners in BIM, which is Building Information Modeling, the digital transformation of building, as national partner of Team System at the largest digital construction event in Italy. Held the TED speech. We were selected by the 100 top industrial company in Italy, voted by executive, C-level executive, as one of the most interesting and fast-growing tech companies in the industrial market. We signed a global deal with Vodafone, which is now providing both cloud computing for the whole system, GDSP, which is how would I say that? SIM cards for connection, for IoT connection that switch from any operator. So wherever you are, you do not connect necessarily to Vodafone, but to anything else, which is really interesting for us, as anywhere our pilots go could get different coverage. But also, we're having a reselling partnership with them on large clients. Now, we're open in Milan, Bergamo. We recently signed for Tirana, so we're opening a branch in the Balkans, which are developing super fast and totally new tech, and open in Switzerland. We are talking about opening here in Trento at Meccatronica to get developing an R&D hub here in Trento, and potentially we are talking to create sort of a synergy here in Trento, because we figure that there are such crazy talents and resources that something very cool could be done in this industry. Starting with ITALFLY, that could provide an amazing range of both education for pilots, specific education, operation, and know-how. And that's one of the reasons I'm very happy to be here. Today, before closing, I want to share with you some of the clients we have. It's actually the next slide. I want to share with you the next big thing we're doing, because it's something that maybe could interest some of you. We thought that this technology and the large deals we've signed so far could be a trigger to create an entire economy around it. So, if you're very familiar with the App Store, what we want to do is creating an industrial App Store. So it would be very, very difficult for a coder, maybe here in Trento, come up with an idea for Caterpillar, or Vodafone, or big construction, or infrastructure. Maybe some of you might have an idea for predictive maintenance in bridges after what happens. It would be super, super hard for you guys, no matter the talent, because we all know how Italy works, to get relations, connections. Shit, that was big. Connections to get there, to those tables where we can sign those deals. We've done that already. So we want to open those deals to any of you guys that have ideas. The platform will be open, and this is, for instance, the first app we're going to be releasing for controlling heavy machinery within a 3D environment. So one of the companies that's pretty clear who they are is developing an app so that construction workers, so that engineers, so that whoever's working in quarries, in excavation, extractions, can track their machinery through GPS data that are sent real time from a GPS station mounted on the machine, so that you can control the machine real time whenever it is. You can see how much weight its excavation is extracting. You can see if there's any problem, any issue. So instead of creating a software to control machinery and knock door to door to sell it, which would be super slow, especially when you need to do tenders to win the deal, we already won the deal. So if you have anything interesting to develop, to interact with our data, we can open the platform, create your app, and distribute it to all of our clients. So just think about it, and if you have any idea, I'll be glad to chat about it. And that's it. Thank you all.
You stay around. Oh, wait, don't go away. People, wait a second. Yeah. If you go on our slide.d yeah. If you go to
that was the other microphone. Ciao Francesco.
Yeah. If you go to slide.do/st26, you can put the questions. Everything is on our Telegram channel. Come here with us. We have a few questions for you. Yeah, sure. Okay. First of all, is the predictive maintenance using algorithms of machine learning?
Yeah, we are.
Who asked this question? Anonymous. Cool.
Alright, for the anonymous curious guy somewhere
Maybe it's on the
there.
live on Facebook.
Alright, yeah, basically we started doing that. So far, we haven't found anything that's really working. So we have found, we are training some algorithms to spot some of the data, but drones data are not the correct data to learn to teach some kind of deep learning engine to predict whatever, you know. You would need to put sensors within the structures to provide a more recurring source of data. So that would be interesting and maybe find something that's relevant.
Cool. Second question. Can the drones recognize people? Could this be a threat to our privacy?
Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely. But I love the shampoo you're using, by the way.
Yeah.
Love the peach flavor.
Okay, but how are you gonna solve that? How are you gonna address that?
Basically, as far as we are concerned, we are acquiring thermal data, multispectral data, nothing that's actually sensitive. We're not using video, for instance, which is something creepy. Just to tell you something funny, we were in Tenerife this summer and we tried to fly a drone very legally, and we figured that each 5-star hotel in the island had a jammer mounted on. So people are getting concerned about privacy and are starting mounting jammers and other tools to inhibit flight of drones. But everything can be, you know, regulated as everything else.
So everything is GDPR compliant. Yeah.
In our case, yeah. We had to.
Cool. Another question. For the analysis of the structure monitoring of the antennas and the static structures, wouldn't it be more accurate to use misure prese da terra, like from land taken measurements instead of on flight?
It definitely is, because you actually get both. So you need to have benchmarks from the ground, from tools like GPS stations, and cross that with above the ground data from the drone.
And which suggestions can you give to people that would really like to start like a project like this, sort of?
Like, to be very practical, something that I've learned by losing a bunch of money is that a lot of startups start with a great idea that requires a lot of development to be ready. So everyone in the business, in the industry talks about the lean startup method, right? You probably heard of it. What we've done here is really lean. We buy the drone, we didn't start design the next big thing, drone, whatever. We bought drones that are already there. We start operating in a window of opportunity within the regulation that was already there. So without forcing rules or waiting for something crazy to be approved. So my suggestion is to be very practical. Do something that's gonna make you invoice the first $1,000 within 2 months from where you start, just to give you direction.
Okay, I would say final question. What is your business model? What is the typical charge of a client with a small construction site? And maybe next to it, where have you found the financing around at the beginning?
Selling the Porsche and the watches was not a joke. We actually sold the Porsche and sold the watches. It was 100% self-funded. We didn't want to get investors involved. So that's where the funding came from. And by having, as I said, a very sustainable business model where you start making money from day one, it's sort of it's more of a cash flow issue, but you can solve that with banks, you know? And that's the the financing part. As far as the business model, it's very simple and very recurring. So we sign deals, most of the things you've seen are very recurring. You need to monitor a bridge each year by law. You need to monitor a quarry each year by law. A construction site, you need to monitor a construction site basically each damn day. So it's very recurring. And deals are usually at least 2 to 3 years long. So it's a recurring business model where you pay a monthly fee or a quarterly fee, whatever. A small construction site can cost 100, 150,000 a year for the whole service, which is actually a cost that it's already there. With traditional topography or whatever, but it's already there. So it's just switching costs, nothing extra. And you're lowering the risk of errors and stuff significantly.
Cool.
All right.
A big applause again for PIETRO GORGAZZINI.
Thank you guys.
Amazing talk. We'll say 2 minutes break.
Yeah, we have a couple of minutes break, so if you want to grab a beer, which is now available, or go to the bathroom, which is available in fondo a destra, as always.
Or you can go and donate to Michele at the table over there.
Yes.
We give you 2 minutes and then we start off again.
And again, non toccate gli elicotteri, non uscite, vi taglio le mani, grazie. Ciao! Mi chiede se puoi dargli una mano.
Let's move back, people. Remember, the earlier we start, the earlier we beat the spec.
Hey, Francesco. You know what is cool? We're starting Speck&Tech in 30 seconds. Wow.
Hey yo, move out there. Hi.
We are restarting Speck&Tech in 30 seconds, so please grab your beer and take your seat. Thank you. Mind the gap between both talks. We will provide spec at the end of both the talks, so please provide your ass on a chair. Thank you. All right.
Yeah.
So our next guest has some hardware that I saw once, which was not the very same, but kind of, in a very cool video from Casey Neistat, where he was basically flying attached to a drone, which is one of my dreams right now. But they told me it's 50 kilograms more or less, right?
No, 100, no?
100. So can you fly me on this? Is it legal? Kind of. Is it illegal?
That would be freaking awesome.
Yeah, please. Alright, so next Speck&Tech we would really like to arrive from a drone. Yeah. We can talk about this later. So,
Okay, next speakers, these 3 guys here. Matthias, raise your hand. Matthias, Moritz Moroder, and Matthhias Vinatzerer. Pretty easy, 2 names, 3 people. Cool. The stage is yours. A big applause for Flight Basket.
welcome!
Buonasera a tutti. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Imagine the day when you will meet here again and you look back, and this is the past. Look back. Imagine the day, this is the past, and this is the future. So looking back. Sorry, ITALFLY. This is the future. My two colleagues, Moritz and Matthias, they started this startup in 2015, and it started very small. The actual size isn't comparable to the initial size of the drone. Now it's much bigger. Not just the drone, even the motors, even the propellers, even the weight it can lift is much higher. Moritz and Matthias are going to tell you a little bit about how it started, what we developed these years, and how we are heading towards the future.
Okay, thank you for the introduction. So our mission we set for our company is to extend the possibilities of aviation in general. So we want to create aircraft which are able to do more than what is possible now with helicopters. We also want to reduce the complexity, so maybe some of you had the chance already of flying or seeing a helicopter and how it's made. Helicopters are very, very complex machines, and they need a lot of maintenance to, sorry. They need a lot of maintenance to be able to fly day after day with the high reliability they have. So we want to simplify that. And then we also want to make aviation more environmentally sustainable. So the drone you see here is just battery powered, so we have no emissions at all. And we also, for the future, plan to use different technologies, not just battery powered, but all like green technologies. Okay, so we identified a gap in the market. So currently you have small drones which go up to, let's say, maximum 50 kilograms of payload capability. And then after that, with a big gap, you have small helicopters which are at least able to carry about 400 kilos. So you have this range between 50 and 400 kilos where you don't have a machine which you can actually use now. So like my colleague also said before, the prototype we have now, you can see here, is able to carry about 100 kilograms, so we go right inside that gap. And we want to also build other models which go up to 200 or 400 kilograms payload capability. So the first application we see is just simple load transportation, which is also done with the helicopter quite frequently in the mountains. Then another possible application we envision now is something which is also done with helicopters, but also sometimes with drones. So we talk about multi-sensor monitoring. So like you heard from the speaker before, drones with different sensors are already used, but there are some kinds of sensors which are just too heavy for the small drones we have now. So I will tell you about that also later, more specific. And another sector we want to get in now for the beginning is civil protection. So yeah, now I will talk a bit more in detail about these different applications we envision. So like I said, the first one is road transportation. We specifically talk about mountain shelters here. So in the mountains you have many like mountain shelters with restaurants, which many of them don't have road access, and so they have to carry up everything with the helicopter. And something we want to do is to provide a service which delivers groceries, foods, and other supplies the mountain shelters need by drone. So the idea is to carry the drone and also the payloads for the mountain shelters on the road to the nearest possible point, and then just fly the last few kilometers with the drones. It's similar how it's done with helicopter now. So, but the big difference here would be that especially for small mountain shelters who don't need that much food, who are not able to like fill up a whole helicopter worth of stuff. They can now order like smaller packages up to 100 kilo with our drone, so they can get more frequent food supplies, which also changes the way they can offer the food. So they can offer fresher food, and yeah. And also, of course, something I forgot to say is the cost, of course, is also reduced much. So about the multi-sensor monitoring, one application we envision there is geological monitoring. So there are quite heavy sensors which are used to analyze the ground until it's like 100 to 300 meters of depth. So this work with electromagnetic pulses, or with gravitometers, or with different technologies, and sometimes some of the sensors also employ multiple of these technologies. So those sensors weigh at least 50 kilos. Some are also heavier. And yeah, this can be used to monitor the environment, and also for the prevention of landslides. So you can analyze how the ground is made until it's deep down, and from that you can say it could be a dangerous area for a landslide. So of course the problems which are, so there are also, like, this sensor can also be carried on the ground to carry out these measurements, but of course in difficult environments it's difficult to do that. So now it's usually done with a helicopter, but yeah, with the drones it can be much cheaper. And yeah, another thing we want to do is to help civil protection. So already now the helicopter, of course, is used very much by emergency rescue teams, but there are some moments where it's not possible to use the helicopter. A simple example may be that the helicopter base, for example, here there is one helicopter base, and if there is fog here, just here, then the helicopter cannot fly away. Even if in the location where the helicopter is needed, it's perfectly clear weather. And so our idea is that multiple emergency rescue teams can have their own drones. They can take them with their cars, and then they can use them in the areas where they need it. And they can use it to transport material which they need for the rescue, so they are alleviated and they can concentrate more on their actual mission. This is also true for avalanche search teams. So if you have avalanches in the mountains, so snow coming down, people go out and look for people who could be under the avalanches, and also there much material is needed. And now, if possible, the helicopter is used to sustain these operations, these rescue operations, but if the helicopter is not available, all material is carried up by hand, and so it takes longer to do that, and you lose precious time. Okay, also again back to the transport, or also for civil protection, transport could be used for supplying food or water to cut-off areas. So if you have a landslide or something else, you can transport the foods. So like build a air bridge with the drones and do the supplies for the cut-off people. Okay, so yeah, like I said before, the current status we have now is this 100 kilogram drones. You can fly, depending on the payload, from 15 to 45 minutes. And it's, like you see, quite small, so you can fit it in a normal van and transport it to the place where you want to use it. And about the legal part, so for now we have a permit to fly, to do the test flights, so we are currently now doing test flights in a test field we have. And we hope that within September, so within this month, we get the first permit to fly in Europe in general to carry out load transportation with We are actually the first company who requested it in Europe, this permit, and we hope to also get it as first company. Okay, so now my brother Matthias will tell you a bit more about the technical details of the drone.
Yes, exactly. So to give you a brief overview, so we selected a few special components, let's say, a few that we considered as very important that we developed on our own or in partnership with other companies. So to start off with the propulsion system, we have developed it in cooperation with a company, and currently using both our system and systems developed by them, we achieve a maximum thrust of 30 kilograms per propeller and are able to accelerate from 10% to 90% in only 300 milliseconds, so it's very, very fast and not comparable to any combustion engine. And a big part of this is the motor controller, which we developed on our own. So it's, like you can see, also mounted on the drone. It's a very small component for the power output that it has. It has up to 10 kilowatts of continuous power output with a weight of only 220 grams. And the reason why we decided to develop this on our own is that we looked at the market, and there were simply no controllers on the market with the requirements that we had. For example, the ones that had acceptable power outputs had a weight of over 1 kilogram, and if you have to mount 8 of that on a drone, you have really problems with the weight, because it would be almost like a fifth of the drone. And for that reason we decided, okay, we start working on it ourselves, and now we are very happy with the one we have now, because it's still, for the power output and the size, it is only passively cooled, but still it's, you could almost say, one of the coolest components of the whole drone, because it stays always cool, and it's we are quite proud of it after all. And one nice detail is that it also works with canvas, which means that we have all of them on one single bus, and they are basically communicating on one single bus, and therefore it's they can, on one hand, the flight controller can send out data, and every motor controller can also send back all the telemetry data, which is very useful for example, to notice faults or something like that. Another part, so yes, about the motor controller still, it's, here you can see a detailed shot of the insides with some components, microcontroller and some passive components. And we have developed it for brushless DC mode, which is like the default mode that most motor controllers use nowadays. And but also one thing why we developed it too on ourselves is that it is also capable of driving in field-oriented control mode, which is a much newer technology of driving motor controllers, and it improves efficiency, reduces noise of the motor, and also reduces heat loss, especially on the motor, and improves also the torque on the motor itself. So that's also a quite nice thing to have. So, and another thing which we worked on, which we only brought here one piece because they are the main weight of the drone. They weigh about over 8 kilograms a piece, being our batteries. The most important thing about them is that they are plug and play. So they only have the power connectors and one connector for data, which is able to, thanks to the integrated battery management system, is able to send all this data about the battery, starting from the voltage of every single cell, to the temperature of the batteries inside, to the total voltage, and also the currents coming out of the battery. So it can help, also this can help, for example, to notice any problems with the drone or problems with the battery, to avoid accidents like the very famous one in Madonna di Campiglio, which was a battery failure. And that was also due to the size of our drone. We had a very big focus on the safety of the drone itself, and this is one very big, very important thing simply to see every single cell, especially in a high cell count system like ours, to verify that every cell works properly and that there is no cell which could like fail for some reason and pull the whole drone down. So to continue, one very important thing about startups, or I guess which helps startups a lot, is rapid prototyping, and we use it very much. So starting from obviously 3D printing, which we do in our house, which we do in our office and in our lab, it's a very, very important thing because you can really start in the morning with an idea, draw it up in like an hour the piece, and then print it. That takes, depending on the piece, can take longer, but you often end up the same day in the evening or at night with a piece in hand, can see, okay, it works, it doesn't work, let's throw it away or let's use it. And that's, I think, a very, very important piece that pretty much changes a lot of, especially prototyping, but development in general, because you can really, you could go away from the thing that was like previously you had to have companies which make the piece either by milling, which is also can also be used as rapid prototyping, but previously it was like the only manufacturing process, and it could take days. And if you see, okay, it doesn't work, it's for first it costs a lot more than 3D printing. Pieces, smaller pieces, can that are 3D printed can really cost not even €1. So it's really, you can throw them away without having like bad feeling or something. So it's really changes really the way you think about prototyping.
And we also use biodegradable plastics, so
which is very important. And another thing that really is a big part of our design is laser cutting. We try to focus on laser cutting as much as possible, as it is a very simple and very repeatable process, which is also from a not too expensive, let's say like that. And on the other hand, CNC milling, where laser cutting and 3D printing is not acceptable. And at last, we also do rapid prototyping on our electronics, so starting from obviously breadboards to basic PCBs, which really have changed a lot in the past few years. Nowadays, you can really order PCBs from these for barely any money, and you can throw it away if it doesn't work, and redo it again. It's really also in that sector, things have really changed a lot in the past year. So.
Yeah, so that's the thing which, so these technologies at the end were technologies which enabled us to build many prototypes fast. And so, like my colleague said before, we have had many prototypes. So we started with a smaller version of this drone, tried it, we saw what was working, what was not working, and then we made a new one, and so on. So we had about 9 or 10 prototypes, I think, in the last 3 years, until we got to this. And so if you want to take a look later, I already can tell you now, so except of the propellers and the motors, most of the black parts are 3D printed parts. Then all the flat metal parts you see are laser cut parts. You can also see that the complexity of the parts is quite high. So that's a good thing about this technology. So you can have these very complex parts which just get automatically cut out or printed out. And if you want to improve something, you just change it on the computer, you print out a new one, and then you have it. So this really helps the whole iterative development process we have implemented in our company.
So to go back for a short moment on the propulsion system which we developed, one very important thing is obviously when you develop a very critical component like the motor controller, for example, you don't trust it before you don't have tested it, so you want to test it if possible before flying, because you don't want to see the drone crashing for these new components. So for this reason we developed our own test stand, which is able to test, like I said, new propulsion systems. On the other hand, evaluate the propulsion systems we are currently using. And also very importantly, do stress testing. So yeah, you can do stress testing of propulsion systems without having to fly the drone. So you can just like you see on the picture, here you have the test stands with a motor and a propeller mounted to it. And you can do, for example, hours of testing of the motor and the propeller and motor controller without having to fly the drone for hours. So you can do lots of stress testing, which is it really makes it much easier than doing it with a drone, much more repeatable, and also you can say much more extreme because you can do situations which are, for example, not applicable to real flight situations to ensure that even if extreme situations appear in flight, you never, for example, you simulate such extreme situations that you are sure that those will never happen during real flight. For example, also the acceleration that we measure thanks to test stands, it's quite unlikely that it is during the flights you will ever need to accelerate with this speed. So to give a short overview, the test stand is able to measure forces, being the torque and the thrust generated by the propulsion system. Currently we have it set up for 50 kilograms and 50 newton meters of force, which is about the maximum output, or a bit less than maximum output of the current system we have. But it is really easily interchangeable as the standard, as the sensors we are using are quite standard and are available in different sizes and capacities. And for the power, we are able to measure up to 500 volts and 200 amps of current. So it can measure quite a lot of current, and also has a system to cut off the power in event of a failure, for example, so that you don't have everything go up in flames. And we also had it, that was for a reason, because we had some bad experience in previous, not our prototypes, but we had a previous motor controller which was from a different company, which, we had a quite spectacular fail. And for this reason we also implemented that. And last of all, we also added environmental sensors, being temperature, air pressure, air humidity, because all of these variables can have a very big impact on your measurements. For example, the thrust is very, very much depending, obviously, on the air pressure, because if there's much more air, you can generate more thrust with the same propulsion system. Okay, here you can see again, like a short overview how it looks like the test. You have a computer with the software we developed on our own, showing here, for example, you can barely see the graphs and the different measurements. Obviously very important, an emergency off button, because it's much more dramatic when you have something like that. And then you have the test stands, which I explained previously. Concluding, we still want to talk a bit about flight testing. So here you can see the drone in flight in our test area. For the future, one very important step is, which is our mid-range goal, is the certification of the drone. This could very much help us to expand in all the markets in Europe, especially for selling the drone, which is our main focus, because the drone, the delivery service and services in general is not our main focus. So we want to achieve certification to be able to sell the drone to other companies, which, for example, wants to offer the service, the drone as a service. And obviously, like my brother told before, is the higher payload capability, starting now from 100 kilograms up to, in the future, hopefully up to 400 kilograms. It's only a question of time after all. And thanks also to the higher payloads, we are sure that we will find many other new applications, despite the ones we are focusing on now. Because after all, while there is currently a gap, there is really no reason to why there is a market, because currently the only reason why the market is not present is because there is nothing here to transport it. You have either the pieces that you can transport with a helicopter with 800 kilograms, or with the small drones, and no one develops things or works on things that are in that payload category, because there is currently no transportation system available for that. So concluding now, we want to show you a short video, a compilation of some flights we did last year in Switzerland, where we had everything on our own, which was quite nice. And we were allowed to do some test flights there with this case, we had a payload of 30 kilograms. So the drone with 4 motors has a payload of up to 30 kilograms, and one with 8 motors has 100 kilograms of payloads. And there we flew with 30 kilograms of payloads. And here you can see footage. It starts.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, this was last year. The videos you saw, this was last year. Now it's completely different, much better, much faster, much more technology, much more high-tech. Some of you in the public don't understand anything about technology, like me. But some of you are real enthusiasts. Now, we are always looking for some people to join our team. At the moment, we are searching for, or we are looking and having, trying to make out some deals with some investors. This means that people who would join our team could be paid for their work. And I don't know, maybe there's some aeronautical engineers between you, or maybe there's just some people who love to build. You must understand the technology we are building, it's not invented yet. This is new. There's no one telling you how it's done the right way. Everything we built here has never been built before, or not at least in the way we have been doing it. So the decisions we take them together, and the product, the outcome, should be the best product that there can be on the market. That's why just flying baskets will be the leader in the future. At least this is what we think. Now, thank you to ITALFLY for the invitation. Thanks to you all. If you want to join us, we have some... Thanks.
Stay around.
Alright, so thanks again for being our guest. Please stay, we have questions.
People, move on your phone if you want to upvote questions to put them up in the list. Now it's the moment.
Yeah, still slide.st26.
Or it's on our
You
Telegram.
can ask your questions also
to you.
loudly. You can also talk to us. We are persons.
But there's a lot of time for questions in front of a media later. But now we have the first one. So, do you use any simulation software?
Yes, we use different simulation software. So starting from simulation softwares for mechanical components, of course. So after we design components, we use simulation software to simulate the forces that are applied on single parts and also on the assemblies. Then, on the other hand, we also use simulation software for flight simulation. So we have a software with which we can connect the drone at the end to the computer, and it gets simulated position and attitude data from the simulation software, and the motor control outputs are transferred also to the simulation software, so you can, without flying, have the drones simulate the drone. So this simulation software also includes aerodynamic simulation, so we have our propellers, our drone inside the simulation software, and it's quite good accuracy. So we can configure and test new software configurations of the drone on the computer.
Alright, the next question, I'm reading it, but I don't understand most of it. So they're asking, how much is LiPo, battery energy density, a problem for drones implementation? Also, compare with conventional combustion engine chemical energy density.
So, so yeah, obviously,
Puzzled, but if you also can explain to normal people like me.
yeah. So as far as I understood, so first for the LiPo batteries, so it's obviously that LiPo batteries. So it's also the technology we are using this drone is lithium polymer batteries.
So for you to say the thing that you have to understand is this.
Right. Thank you.
You have to think that of the weight of the 60 kilograms, that's our drone weight, it's about 35 kilograms only for the batteries. So it's more than half of the weight is only the batteries in our case. And like what I said, lithium polymer batteries, while they have improved a lot over the past 10 or 20 years, they are still quite bad, especially in comparison to other energy sources, for example, like normal combustion engine, why? Because it's still that I think it's about 40 times the energy density, if I'm not mistaken. I don't have the figure in mind. So even if, let's say, a combustion engine has an efficiency of about 20 to, let's say, 30%, and our motors can reach an efficiency of over 90%, we still, due to the quite low energy density of batteries, have, let's say, almost 10 times lower energy and availability for the same weight, even with all the power loss compared to all the power loss of combustion engines compared to the very little power loss that we have in our system. So it's obviously a big problem, and improvement in battery technology would obviously change, I think, the whole business of drones, because it's a very big reason, also not only for drones, but for cars, for electric, let's say, helicopters also, for example. One big reason why they are often not present in these sectors is because of the very low energy density of batteries. So if the battery technology improves, I'm sure that electric transportation will revolutionize even more than it is already now. And obviously for us it would change very much. And the thing about how we build the drone is that we can always adopt the newest technology. So we can simply adopt new technologies, and we are already focusing now on approaching all the other technologies for energy storage, because that is still the main issue of these systems.
So about the second part of the question, the comparison to the combustion engines, we also had made a prototype which was a hybrid drone. So we had a combustion engine with a generator on board the drone. And of course the energy density you can achieve there is much higher. So there, for example, we had with a small tank of 5 liters, I think. With the engine together, we had an energy density of 1 kilowatt per kilogram, so that means it's about 5 to 6 times more than the LiPo batteries we use now. But on the other hand, combustion engines also bring many problems, so starting from heat and vibrations, and also from the need of maintenance. So what we will do in the future probably is, so if the battery technology doesn't improve in the next 3 years, let's say, which we probably won't, we will go in the direction of fuel cell systems, because there has been a lot of change in the last years.
Cool. Thank you also for the explanation for normal people. So this one is very fun. What's the craziest request / use case idea you've got from potential clients for such big drones, aside from can you fly me to an event as a presenter of Speck&Tech?
Okay, so it was 1.5 years, no, maybe 2 years ago, at Maker Fair in Rome, where a guy just came there and said, "Oh, I want to bring your drone on Mars."
Is this happening?
Actually, ESA, I think, is now thinking of bringing a flying object to Mars, but yeah, it's not us.
I'm sorry. That was great. Also, they're asking what is the range of temperature you can work with this kind of drone, like from top to these, obviously?
Yeah, we did not actually test it, but most components are designed to be operable up to 40, 50 degrees C. So 99% of the weather conditions.
Right. So no Himalaya and no
Yeah, low temperatures, you're right, they are a bigger problem than the higher temperatures. So our components are quite well cooled, so they don't have this much problems with high temperatures, but low temperatures, the batteries actually have problems now.
Yeah,
but also there, with, for example, fuel cell power supply, you have less problems.
Okay.
There's a final question. Are you working or do you have projects to implement autonomous drones? And what is important if you want to implement this technology in your fleet?
Interesting question. There is a big issue about safety with autonomous drones, so the technical capabilities are